Thank you all for coming out on this gloomy day. And we're competing with a lot of different things, including family events and Passover and Lent. And so anyhow, I appreciate the candidates for being here tonight. Thank you for coming. And thank you and welcome to this year's Candidates Forum sponsored by the Hingham Republican Town Committee. While organized by the Republican Town Committee, this is a nonpartisan event, and we welcome the participation of all Hingham's candidates and citizens. This was advertised as a public forum. I'd like to thank the Hingham Public Library and the Library Board of Trustees for providing this wonderful facility, and to Harbor Media for their professionalism in capturing this event. I'd also like to thank Missy Smith for doing all the background work this year and ensuring that this production is a success. And thank you to Laura Marwell, Kathleen and Libby Claypool, and Leah Godfrey for your continued support. My name is Ted Matthews, and I'll be leading the discussion this afternoon. The purpose of this event is to give the candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves and their plans if elected, and to give voters an opportunity to ask questions about issues of concern or interest to them. Please allow me a moment to explain the format. Starting with the contested race, the candidates for planning board will be invited to the front table. As they are, the candidates are all up here. The candidates will be called to the lectern in alphabetical order to make a 2-minute opening statement. After the candidates have made their statements, I'll ask the audience for questions. Unless the question is addressed to a particular candidate, I'll ask the responses in reverse alphabetical order, staggering response order if there's time for more questions. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. Candidates for uncontested races will follow the same format as a contested race. Laura Marwell will be keeping time up here and flash a signal to each speaker as time winds down. That's probably the most daunting part of this process.
Yeah, I'm not to it.
Okay. She also has, and there's a lot of levity to this event, so please, let's not keep it too formal. Laura Marwell will be keeping time. She'll flash a signal to each as it winds down. She also has a sound signal demonstrate which may be necessary.
Do it again.
For members of the audience asking questions, please raise your hand and wait for the microphone to come to you so the audience here and at home can hear your questions. As a final note, this is not a debate format, and we ask all participants and audience members to refrain from interrupting a speaker, and that civility will be maintained throughout the event. I'd like to commend all the candidates for their willingness to serve and wish you good luck today and in the future. So let's get started. I ask that the audience hold your questions until the candidates have made their opening statements, and then I'll open it up for questions. So I'd like to invite the planning board candidates. The planning board has 1 seat open for a 5-year term. And first to the lectern by alphabetical order, we'll start with Crystal Kelly, then Tom Patch. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for having me here today. I hope to earn your vote on May 3rd. My name is Crystal Kelly. I'm running for the planning board, and I am absolutely delighted to be here. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it today. I have 2 of my sons are in scouting, and the Pinewood Derby was today. And I'm pleased to report that both of my sons won their den groups, and then my son, Jack, actually was the Pac 4 champion of the Pinewood Derby today. So we're going to be going on to regionals, the Mayflower Council at some point in the future. And it's an exciting event for our family. But I didn't come here to wow you guys all with stories about my kids. My husband and I live in Liberty Pole. We haven't been in Hingham as long as some, but we've certainly gotten involved as soon as we've gotten here. We live there with our 6 kids. We have 2 dogs and a cat. I also have a horse who lives in Hingham. So we have a very full, busy life. Currently, I'm a volunteer. I'm a mom. I'm an attorney. I volunteer and serve on the town of Hingham on the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission is another permitting board, like the Planning Board. We issue permits under the Hingham's Wetlands Protection Act, the Hingham Wetlands Bylaw. I have been elected chair for at least the last 3 years, may have even been longer than that. And it's been a real pleasure for me to serve. The opening that's come up on the Planning Board, it's given me an opportunity to serve in another capacity. Like I said, I'm an attorney, I'm a municipal attorney. I also served as town solicitor for the town of Braintree, which is not far from here. And I did that for a number of years. And I have a lot of experience shepherding communities through land use issues and using my legal skills for creative solutions. You're not hiring me as an attorney, but I can promise you I'm going to use my full set of talents on the planning board when I'm elected. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Tom Thatch is next. And
We could read up that.
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Patch, and I'm a candidate for the Hingham Planning Board open seat in the May 3rd town election. I am a born and raised Hinghamite, very proud of it. My family roots in Hingham run deep, starting with my Irish immigrant great-great-grandparents who came to Hingham in the mid-1800s in search of their American dream. I am a proud father of my son Neil, graduate of Boston College and Harvard, and currently a manager of online learning at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. I am a product of the Hingham Public Schools, K through 12. I obtained a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Maine and National University Galway, Ireland, as well as a Juris Doctor from the University of Maine. I was admitted to the Massachusetts Bar in 1987. I worked for a regional law firm with practice focus on municipal law and land use, including provision of town council services to the town of Kingston. I then became general counsel to a multi-state real estate development and construction company. After that, I became a managing partner in a different firm, and I have since transitioned to an individual practice, all with the same municipal law and land use focus. Over my years as an attorney, I have interacted with and observed many planning boards across Massachusetts, including the Hingham Planning Board. Consequently, I can offer an invaluable knowledge base and perspective of planning board member responsibilities and performance and what it takes to be a highly effective planning board member. I am confident I possess these attributes and a judgment that speaks of a voice and a deep care for the Hingham community by hearing and valuing and respecting all who have chosen to reside or work in this town. And I will contribute to an ongoing balanced, well-rounded board in its work to successfully address the challenges facing and to also positively shape our community today as well as in the future. As stated in our master plan, those who know the town well bring an invaluable perspective to the planning process. I respectfully ask for your vote on May 3rd and look forward to answering your questions today. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes.
Hang on just 1 second, Judy.
Elected and I
Check 1, 2, check.
speak loud enough.
They want to make sure that we get you on television, unfortunately. So,
Judy Ray, could you correct? It's my understanding that over the past, and I would say maybe 10 or more years, you have been helping the Hingham Planning Board unofficially. I hope I'm not pointing out something that shouldn't be done, but I know that you have several of the people on the planning board have asked you questions in regards to issues that have come up. Am I correct in?
Well, just in a general sense, I mean, I make myself available as a resource to anybody in the town because, that's what you're supposed to do. That was instilled in me, as part of your civic duty. I've shown up at the planning board and, put my 2 cents in, probably to some chagrin because I tend to tell inconvenient truths. So, so I've spoken, dealt with different board members. I've dealt with zoning board members, board of health members, everybody. I make myself available as a resource.
An active member.
Yeah, well, because I've done municipal law and so therefore,
Yes.
I'm trying to be
Right.
helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm not sure if the same question should be asked of of Crystal, but have you had some interaction with the Hingham Planning Board at any point?
Yes, I have actually. So would you like me to? I mean, I've certainly.
Yeah, we can give you 2 minutes.
I sure. Thanks. So I mean, I think whereas that was a question directed towards Mr. Patch, but I certainly have had interactions with the Hingham Planning Board. I am careful, though, I would say, of my role of that I'm not counsel for the town of Hingham, and so I don't provide legal advice to the planning board, but I certainly have had conversations with them, about issues that are facing the town of Hingham and what I think would be, my take on that. And as I said previously, I'm on the Town's Conservation Commission, which is another permitting board, and so I'm very active in that as well. Thank you.
Great. Leah?
I didn't hear your question, so this is a repeat. Welcome, all of you. Leah Godfrey, Tucker's Lane, Hingham. This is to both of you. Just if you could offer us 1, 2, or 3 significant qualifications why you think you should be on the Hingham Planning Board that's significant and relative to Hingham. Thank you.
Let's see, reverse order, perhaps?
So I would go.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
You paying me her?
go ahead.
Me.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Great. First, as again, you have to have a well-balanced board. We're not a homogeneous community. We have a lot of different people, new ideas, people who've been here for a long time. So I look at myself as a resource. My family having deep roots in the town. I understand a lot of the decisions that were made 50, 60, 100 years ago and why things are the way they are today, because that's the biggest thing that I find when I deal with newer people to the town. They don't understand, why is it this way? Why do we have this? Why do we have that? And that's an invaluable resource to have on any board, but particularly the planning board. And also, as an attorney who's done the work, and Crystal's right, you're not hiring a town council on this, but it's an invaluable skill set that you have to understand, the various laws that apply. And also, I think I'm a pretty analytical person. I think I can think through things pretty well and reason through and hopefully come out with very positive sort of win-win results. I'm not trying to put my thumb on the scale one way or the other. I'm trying to be fair and balanced.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I think 2 or 3 important qualifications about myself. First of all, I am a newer resident. I do have a young family, and we certainly put our roots down here to grow with the community. I think that as someone who does have a young family, it gives me a unique perspective on how the land use and the planning decisions of Hingham are going to directly impact the character of the town as my kids grow up here. And I think that's an important perspective. Secondly, we've all talked about being attorneys. We're both attorneys. It does. It brings bring a unique skill set. It brings a unique ability to analyze certain particular situations. And I've had a lot of experience sort of looking at, land use issues and bylaw issues and planning issues and how they impact a particular community and how that particular set of laws is what kind of reaction is that going to create? What's going to happen because of this? What impact is this going to have on a given neighborhood? And I think I'm really good at that. And it's one of the things that I utilized and I honed in my previous capacity as town solicitor. And, and secondly, too, I have a long history of representing neighborhoods and neighborhood activism. And that's not something that, I'm being asked to do here in this role, but it gives me a perspective as I really understand that decisions made by this board in particular have a direct impact on people in their communities and their neighborhoods. And I understand, I respect that. And I'm always going to respect the character of the neighborhoods and the character of the communities that I get elected to represent. Thank you.
Well done.
Any other questions? Okay, Susan. It's you.
Susan Wetzel, 239 High Street. Thank you for coming, all of you. My question really has to do with competing priorities, which is what we see so much here in town. Not only competing priorities in terms of time, because all I ever hear is we're busy with the planning board, things that don't come forward. I mean, the schedule you keep is incredible as a planning board and the ZBA and the school committee. So my question is, with what unique skill do you have, and how you don't, as my husband reminds me, you don't make more time. We all have the same amount of time. How do you think your skill set will help you allocate a mother of young children and how do you think your unique skill set will help you be able to manage this incredible schedule that the planning board has here in town? And we're very much acutely aware of that when something's coming before the plan board, how full their schedule is. How do you get that done if we can't make any more time?
Okay, so the question is about time management, and Crystal, you're
Okay, great. So I am going to represent to you that time management is one of my superpowers. So, and my husband's laughing there, and because he knows it's true. So again, I've talked about my family. I can tell you a little bit about, I've talked to you a little bit about my volunteerism, right? I'm the chair of one of our permitting boards, which has a significant time impact comparable to the planning board. But I'm also a litigator. I'm a trial lawyer. So on top of all that, I've been able to balance that. And I think that you can recognize that I can't do all the things because you know that I am an absent member of our Daughters of the American Revolution chapter, which is unfortunate, but we can't make time for all the things. But one of the things that I promise that I will always have time for are my obligations for the town and for the planning board. And I think that's something that I've been able to successfully do with the Conservation Commission. I've had positive dealings with many citizens on the Conservation Commission, including Mr. Patch here, in my capacity as chair. So, again, just to wrap that up, time management is one of the things that I would say that I have in the bag as one of my superpowers. So thank you.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that it was a positive situation. Relief. Okay. Well, yes. I mean, obviously, I grew up in a family of 6, so, I get it. Okay. And I applaud Crystal for doing what she does. And obviously, I'm a little older and in another month I have to sign up for Medicare. Anybody have any suggestions? Let me know later. So I have more time. I'm sort of winding down a little bit, but I have more time. But I think one of the things that my abilities is aside, I believe it or not, I analyze stuff and I cut right to the chase. Not to cut people off from having their say, but I can zero in on what the real issue is to try to avoid, the collateral stuff that people might want to talk about, and try to focus right in on what is the issue in front of the board. And by doing that, and then focusing people on that and getting them to speak to those issues, it's a more efficient part of the board's time. But the planning board also has, they have other responsibilities and on different committees and so forth. So basically, when you sign on for this, you got to make time. And that's part of the promise that you make to the community is that, if you're going to take this on behalf of the community, you got to make the time to do it.
Okay, great. I think we've had a good opportunity to get to know Tom and Crystal. Are there any questions maybe related to anything on the planning board that's going on around town that you might have an interest in or a question about?
What?
Absolutely.
This, I believe that it's the planning board's recommendation for this change in electrical zoning codes with regards to what's on the buildings in the town. I'm not explaining myself very well.
She's seconded.
The what? Is it called stretch code?
Yeah.
Thank you. You must be an electrician.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am not.
That's,
And the impact that that's going to have on the building here in town. And it's nearly impossible to build in this town and have enough money to live in this town for those in my age bracket. So I just was wondering what your comment is. I think that's already been recommended to pass. And here we are sitting just waiting for more expenses to come down the pike. So if either one of you or both of you would mind commenting on your understanding of how that's going to impact us, that would be great.
Great. Okay. The questions about that stretch energy code, and if Mr. Patch should go first, I believe this time. So,
well, I don't want to speak for Joe, but he's probably got that brand new Cadillac all picked out on the lot. It's like anything. We're in a competing situation. We're trying to get ahead of the curve here on trying to become more energy efficient and cleaner. But then the problem is you have a lot of these existing homes that need potentially, people need to do updates. It's pretty much 1,000 square feet of a change. And, and then people trying to sell their homes, because then basically when people sell them, it's going to give an impetus for tear downs, because basically it's not worth trying to take an old house and trying to make it meet the updated code. So it's, that's one of the unintended side effects of this. It's not something that the planning board is doing. This is, the energy code's part of the building code. So when you try to get a building permit, this is what's going to happen. But, like I said, I mean, there's the give and the take of it. We're trying to do the right thing energy wise, environmentally, but then you're going to see the impact of it. And, it's really not something the planning board per se can try to remedy. I think I would suggest you go to town meeting and say your piece, about how you want to handle that. And I didn't mean to speak for you, Joe, about a Cadillac.
Already out.
All right. Well, but I was going to say, but I know it's going to be Buy American. I know that.
But they are kidding.
okay. Great. Pistol?
Well, now that everybody knows that we have a Cadillac. But we are a big Buy American family. So I just want to make a comment about the new revision of the stretch energy code. It's not going to require people to retroactively implement this on their existing houses. It applies to new construction and applies to additions over a certain amount of square feet. So it's going to have limited impact. But at the same time, I'm not sure that I think that this is one of these situations that in a lot of instances, I think this is something that the market was going to take care of on its own, because people are trending. In these new constructions, these new houses that are getting built, people are really trending towards these, net zero, electrify everything. And this may go down bad over the sort of the net zero crowd, but I'm a big fan of my gas stove. And I couldn't imagine, parting with it. But that's just a little aside here, But realistically, like Mr. Patch said here, is that the planning board isn't going to implement this. This is something that comes in through the building, through the building code. This is something that, if it does get applied, if the town does vote for it, and again, it's up for vote at town meeting, the town does vote for it, it's going to be enforced by the building commissioner and the building department. So, I don't think it's going to have as broad of applicability on people's lives as people are concerned about. Again, it's going to apply to new buildings and to new construction and to renovations over a certain amount of square feet. So, so that's my take on it. I think it's going to have limited impact on most people in town. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Maybe we have time for one more question. All right. Laura?
Crystal, you mentioned enforcement. I've heard of a house or two. Sometimes a house gets built that doesn't conform to what happened at the planning board of zoning. How what are your thoughts on that? And is there another way to handle that kind of a situation to prevent it?
Yeah, so I mean that's up to our building commissioner, but it's really helpful to have citizen eyes on there. And I had really great conversations with residents up in Crow Point that they have caught that a few times, that people have built over height and larger than what they've been permitted, and they've gotten I know it's terrible.
Going on forever.
Right. So, but so what's happening now is that there's been a lot of what I've been seeing is that there's a lot of citizen enforcement of that. And I think that's, in some respects, it's just reality. You know, the people who live in the neighborhood are going to pick up on that quicker than the building commissioner is going to, because building commissioner just can't be everywhere at all times. So, you know, I think it's important to enforce those things. And, you know, we're going to recognize, you know, too, that, you know, that sometimes, you know, people are trying to squeak something in that they're not supposed to. And that's why it's really important to keep eyes on that. So if that answers your question.
And for Tom, so it's just one of them.
Yeah. Okay. Tom?
Yeah, so I too have spoken with people over Crow Point, and this has been, as you say, this has been an issue going on for years and years and years. You know, the fundamental problem, and I've had lengthy discussions with the building commissioner, also happens to be the zoning enforcement officer, about this. And, you know, the response I get, and you know, they say, look, we're really inundated with stuff for building code. We have a certain amount of time we have to respond to building permit applications. And so quite candidly, zoning kind of falls down the wayside. One of the solutions that I would like the town to consider, and I would push as a member of the planning board, is that, and it exists in other towns, is to have a separate person be, I know people don't want to hire another person, but to have someone be a separate zoning enforcement officer. And so that person would be responsible for that. You know, that would be their, whether it's part-time, full-time, that would be their thing to do. And so therefore, hopefully they have more time to deal with the issue. We don't want to become a town where everybody's, you know, pointing out this. But I will tell you, representing builders and developers, and I don't represent these type of people by choice. There are a number of builders out there that play catch me if you can. Okay. And, you know, I quite honestly, you know, tell them they're crazy for doing that because they're killing the goose that laid the golden egg, but they don't really care because they're all just about the profit. So you basically, you know, people have to keep an eye on stuff. One of the things about site plan review, people are trying to get out from underneath site plan review because it's based on disturbance. And they're not quite being honest about their disturbance. So again, I think one of the two ways we need to do that is we need to amend the zoning bylaw to require site visits by the planning board when they do site plan review, and also that they have to mark off the area of disturbance.
Okay, great. I think I want to, first of all, thank the other candidates for putting the planning board, which is the only contested race. We spent quite a bit of time on it. So I want to thank you for waiting. And thank you, Crystal Kelly and Tom Patch, who again are running against each other for one open seat for a 5-year term on the planning committee. And good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for being here. Okay. So next, I'd like to invite Julie Straley, the candidate for Select Board, to the front. Select Board has one opening for a 3-year term. So Julie, please come to the lectern and address those here and at home.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ted. Good afternoon. Thank you to the Republican Town Committee for hosting this forum. My husband Andy and I have lived in this beautiful town of Hingham for 26 years. Our 2 grown children are graduates of the Hingham Public Schools. I graduated from Scituate High School and Colgate University. After working as a business systems analyst in the financial services industry, I threw myself into volunteer service for our town. I served for 6 years on the town's advisory committee, including as chair. I've served 3 years as chair of the Community Preservation Committee. I'm also past president of the League of Women Voters of Hingham, past president of both the East and Middle School PTOs, and I served as a board member at St. John's Episcopal Church. As a select board member, I see opportunities in the following 3 areas. Number 1, communication. I'd like to improve communication from Town Hall so all residents understand what is going on in their community. I'd also like to improve communication between town boards and committees so we can break down silos and work more efficiently together. Number 2, careful town budgeting. We have gone through a long period of large capital projects and an override, and we continue to have demands on our budget and infrastructure. I'm committed to long-term financial and long-term capital planning so we can manage our needs while keeping tax rates as stable as possible. We should continue to use the master plan and the climate action plan for guidance. And finally, I want to encourage active voter participation. Hingham's strength and successes are based very much on its citizens and volunteers. Please attend annual town meeting. I support adoption of electronic voting at town meeting. Please consider also serving on a town committee. The town needs your good minds and input. And I ask for your vote on May 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, we'll open it up to questions from the audience. For Julie.
Becky.
Thank you. My question is, because you mentioned it in your opening statement, is how we get away from silos in this town, some suggestions, because it's something that I've felt since I started volunteering. How do we get committees to talk together, work across the bridges that should be built? So give some examples of where you think that can happen. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Vicki. So one suggestion that I've already mentioned to the incoming chair of Select Board, Bill Ramsey, is that I would like to have a meeting this fall with all of the town chairs or town committee members if they all want to come. We can all get together in one place and talk about, the Select Board talks about the priorities for the Select Board that coming year, because the Select Board will set its priorities in the summer. And then talk to the committees about what they have on their plates and what they want to accomplish for the year so that you can start planning and talking way ahead of time before the warrant article process begins what their plans are. So that's just one example that I would like to get going on, is just having this just annual meeting.
Please hear you.
All right. Next, Susan.
Susan Wetzel, 239 High Street. I commend you for wanting to run for select person. It's a big job, and to all of you who are willing to serve, it's a big job in a town that has a lot of people that want to participate with their voice. But my question for you is select woman, and I have had a couple of years of monitoring our electric light board, which I do on a regular basis. But my concern has been the silos of the electric light board, who seem to run one way, then all the committees in the town, and then we now own a water company, and we have a school committee now that seems to be totally independent of anything. And so my question is this. When you say you're going to have a meeting in the fall, which I thought was a good suggestion, are you going to include the electric light board that seems to be running their own show, and the water company and the school committee? Or are these just going to be, is that your plan to have everybody? Because it is astounding when you begin to listen to these different committees. And so as a select person, talk about time management. Please help me, because I have yet to ever have a phone call or a conversation with anyone that's on the select board now. I assume it's because they don't have time to return or respond.
So the question is about communication again amongst the different You know what they've asked. But let's give her 3 minutes for this response, though. Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to use all of the 3 minutes, but excuse me. So that meeting has to include everybody, all of the committees, any board or committee who touch anything on town government. So that should include Hingham Municipal Light and the school committee and the water company. Absolutely. I mean, I'm a nosy person by nature, right? Like I like to know what's going on and I like to follow what is happening and have been for years about what other committees are doing. But I don't think that people have time or, spend the time that I do kind of looking into those things. So we all need to be on the same page. And so that's what my goal would be, to have all of those committees and boards together. And time-wise, this is going to be my only job. I don't have a full-time job, and I will be available to answer emails. I don't see. I'm sorry that you haven't received or felt that you're being heard, but I think it's really important for people select board members to be back in touch with people. So that will be a priority of mine.
That's great. Okay, a follow-up on that question, though, from the lectern. How do you prepare yourself to be on the board who runs a water company? For instance, I think we'll just stick to the water company.
Well, I've spent the last 8 months talking to a lot of different people on different committees who have been on committees in the past, who are currently on committees. I also have been following select board meetings. And again, because I'm nosy, I want to know what's going on. I follow a lot of other committee meetings. But obviously, when the select board meet as water commissioners, I'm watching those meetings as well. And, so I'll meet with Russ Tierney. I'll come up to speed on what the issues are. I know what the issues are, right? Like people want good, clean water that's not brown. So
Water.
yeah, right. So I understand that people are concerned about that. And so that's something that I will make sure that I understand sooner, right out of the gate.
That's great. Thank you. I think a lot of people are
Concerned about our water company and the quality of our water. So, our light plant seems to do a good job, but they're faced with some capital expenses that we're going to deal with at town meeting. And I think, when you're thinking about these meetings that Julie's talking about, that has to happen in a public forum, and time is what it is. So, if you can improve on that, that would be great. And I think the town of Hingham would appreciate that.
Yeah. Judy.
Hi, Judy Kelly, 19 Harvest Lane. I just want to commend you for what you said there. As a senior citizen, I think many of us are being squeezed by all of these major projects that are coming all at once, one on top of the other. $8 million for the school override, the fire station, needed projects. At Foster School, I would vote for it over and over again from what I heard those people went through. But for a senior citizen who is trying to live out their life in their own home, it has become almost an impossibility with the increase in taxes and, and it's just going to get worse instead of better. And so I commend you, and I hope you do continue to follow through with that. That's everything doesn't have to be done in 1 year and to stagger it over a period of time. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Hi.
Hi, Tom.
So,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. So I have a question that's sort of near and dear to me because, I have a degree in economics and this stuff. And one of the issues that I've always had is that we're often told, all of us, that it's important to maintain a AAA bond rating so that we can get the best rates. But when I analyze what we're actually borrowing at, we're borrowing at higher than the market rates. And it seems like this is being done to generate what they call bond premiums, which is additional monies because the interest rate we're going to market at is much higher than, or significantly higher than essentially the prevailing rate. And so you generate this difference in what they call spread, and it's capitalized into actual money. And that money is, so basically if you borrow $1 million instead of borrowing at 3%, if you borrow it at 5%, you end up getting $1,100,000. And so that then money, and I understand they revised the law that we have to allow this at town meeting to spend that money on something else, that $100,000. But my concern is when we go to town meeting and we're asked to vote on a borrowing, okay, the implicit promise that we're being given is that the rate is going to be at the best rate that we can get, because that's why we're sacrificing with our budget to have a AAA bond rating. And it's not happening. And so as a result, when, if you say we want to borrow $1 million for this building, and then the town goes out and generates $1.1 million, essentially because of the higher interest rate, we have to pay back that money. And then that money is being used to be spent on some other project that we never voted to borrow for in the first place. So it's just, and I know it's not just Hingham, it's nationwide because the IRS clamped down on it. But again, it's just as I've been dying to ask the selectmen, I asked this question back in 2020 when Mary Parra was a selectman at town meeting, and Mary came back and said, because we can. And which, to be quite honest with you, I was stunned, because just because you can doesn't mean it's a smart thing to do. So I see this disconnect between the AAA bond rating, sacrifice, try to get that, and then what the town actually does, the selectman actually does in borrowing. So I guess to sum up, my question is, what are you going to do to address that, to make sure that we actually do get the best rate because we have a AAA bond rating?
So I confess, I don't know about that sort. I wouldn't call it minutia, but like level of detail about the bond, what your question is right now. But I will come up to speed on that, certainly. Thank you. But I do know that when we bought the water company, because of our AAA bond rating, we had an historically low interest rate because of our rating. So I'm happy about that, and that's what the town works so hard for. So I that's all I can say is that I will look into it.
I said to be okay. Please look at how they borrowed the money, because we didn't get it at the lowest rate. And so, I mean, this information is available online. There's a entity that maintains this information, and okay. I just would
Tom,
like
to be fair.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying.
She couldn't possibly be prepared for that question, and it's a tough one, and it absolutely could be true, but we need to, you need to look at that separately. Are there other questions?
Joe Kelly, 7 Independence Lane. So one of the things that I see as a major issue here in Hingham is we run an all-volunteer town government. And we have a lot of activism and involvement when you go on Facebook chat groups and pages and things like that. But, I serve on the Public Safety Building Committee. We made a really, really, really strong effort to show the entire community the state of the fire and the police station and why we really needed to build a fire station at a minimum. And the level of engagement from the public was nil. I think 3 people came to all of the open houses that we had. None of the Republican town committee members that I can remember were there, but neither were the Democratic town committee members, right? So we had an issue with the people who are probably the most involved in politics in town. But we also need the people to transition to our town government. You did make a great ask for people here to get involved in the boards. What do you think that you can do as a select board member to bring the community into the issues that face the town and why we need these things going forward? And how can you get people to come sit on these boards that run our town government?
Thank you for the question. At the very basic level is just, like I said about communication, is finding ways to get people to understand what is going on. And a lot of people are very busy with their lives. So they may not want to take the time to take a tour, or they don't have the time, or they don't have the time to become involved in issues until maybe when they get this warrant in the mail. But there are ways to, the town engages with, they send out emails. I just don't think a lot of people are on the list serves for the town. And so what I would like to do is to make a bigger effort to get more people onto the town listserv so that they can get the emails. Not everybody's on Facebook, or I have friends who are on Facebook and then they got kicked off of Facebook for whatever reason and they can't get back on. So, or I follow the Weir River Water Company, for example, on Facebook, but it doesn't show up in my feed. I would have to go and find their announcement. So Facebook, I don't think is the answer. So if you have a way to reach people, and another idea that I have, which sure won't be so popular at town hall day one, but the town of Situate has a weekly little video cast. It's like 15 minutes or less, where the superintendent, the town administrator, and sometimes school committee members, they'll say, this is what's happening in Situate this week. And they just give a little blurb. And then there's a transcript that gets posted to the town's website, and also the video clip. So just ways to engage with people, and so that they know what's going on from week to week. I just think that I would like to do better to reach people. And then where it goes from there, that people are engaged, they understand what's going on, and then they feel the spark to become more involved. That's what I would hope.
Goodness.
That's great, Julie. Thank you very much. I think, the people in this room and the people watching us on television probably all feel the same way, a little bit compulsed to come out and be part of town government, especially the folks who come to town meeting. So, we can all do our part, I think, to improve. But that was a great idea. Thank you. I think that's, one more quick question.
Sure, yeah.
Many questions.
Okay.
I think many people got off the track with this Zoom business that that went on during the COVID time here in the town. And what ended up happening was people disengaged because they were engaged in another place in their mind, I think. My question is, there are many board meetings that still only meet on Zoom. There's not a public format to go and talk to them. I went to one school committee meeting, and I think you're allowed 2 or 3 minutes to talk. Well, that's really hard for some of us. I think that there isn't enough dialogue face to face. I'm just putting that out there. Do you have an opinion about how important it is to allow people to come in person to these meetings and really begin to have FaceTime, which means really together? I think that's part of the problem here in town. I've lived here 45 years. And I think that we need to encourage that with people. And I know people have busy lives and they have children. Yeah, I've lived that route too. So just, do you have one opinion? Do you think Zoom is fine? Or do you think more in-person time is important?
So I like the hybrid option where you can meet in person, but also you have a Zoom link so people can engage from home, because people are either traveling or they're just, running in the door trying to get dinner, and then they don't have time to turn around and run back out to town hall. So I love the hybrid option. And the Community Preservation Committee, we've wrestled with Zoom, should we meet in Zoom? Should we meet in person? What we've settled on in recent years is that we would have some meetings by Zoom, because it really lent itself well to being by Zoom only because they were PowerPoint presentations. So it's just displayed on the screen and it's just much easier. And I think about sometimes the planning board. I know that the planning board is meeting still exclusively by Zoom, I think.
They had one hybrid one, but the changes the open meeting law looked like it was going to lapse, and there was kind of a lag time with meeting notices. So
okay,
we all scrambled that.
But I was thinking, because there's a lot of like pictures and maps and things, and I think that kind of meeting where you're looking at those documents, it lends itself well to Zoom, I think. But the meetings when the Community Preservation Committee has met in person, it's so great to be able to talk to each other and collaborate and hear from people. But I feel like the most input that we've ever had as a committee was when people Zoomed in, and that's seems like more people want to do that. But I like the hybrid format. And the select board obviously is meeting almost exclusively in person. And I think that's great. I think that they should continue to do that.
Hey, good question. We've got one more question, I believe, from the front.
My
question, I want to go back to your original comments on communication within the town. And essentially, I'm going to offer a comment, but to get away with it, I'm going to ask a question, which is, how do you feel about, and my comment is, I think the town has too damn many committees. None of them have sunset provisions. So we got people running around doing projects. They go on year after year after year without a conclusion. So I would hope that you might consider putting a sunset provision on the many committees that we have running around. And that's my question.
Thank you. You know, I was recently going through the town's website and looking at all the committees. I've done this before, but there are a lot of committees. I agree with you that there are a lot of committees, and then you look at the last agenda that they posted and the last time they met, and some of them was years ago. So I agree that there is room for cleanup. And so as part of my, again, being nosy, wanting to know everything that's going on, I was already actually making a note to look into that, because, you know, I'm sure those committees feel like they're done with whatever work they need to be done with, and maybe it's just a cleanup issue. So
I'd like to just add a postscript. In business, there is an old saying, a camel is a racehorse designed by a committee. Yeah, but I think we've got too many committees.
yeah. And I'll also add that, you know, committees benefit greatly from having staff at town hall to work with who know what they're doing and can get help from the staff as well. So, pardon me?
I don't mean operating committees. I mean special task force.
Right. So, but I'm just saying that it bears looking at, and thank you for bringing that up.
I think that fewer committees, but committees with completion dates would increase communications greatly.
Okay. Ethan.
Thank you, Al, for your opinion, statement, and question. Excellent. And great. And thank you for your response. So I'd like to wrap up our conversation with Julie, who, again, is running for the one open position for a 3-year term as a select board member. And good luck to you. All right. Next. Thank you, Julie. Now I'll invite Tim Sullivan, candidate for Housing Authority, to the front. And the Housing Authority has one open position for a 5-year term. Tim.
Excellent. Afternoon, everyone. It's good to be with you. My name is Tim Sullivan. I'm a candidate for the Hingham Housing Authority. And since I'm unopposed and we all want to see if Rory wins, I should stop. But I won't. I'll just introduce myself a little bit. I live in Crow Point with my wife and 3 children, 10 and under. Next year, all 3 will attend the new foster school together. And so Judy and everyone who supported that project, and before I even laid my head down on my pillow, I had taken 3 votes to raise my own taxes, but it's worth it. And it's a really special school and community. So thank you for that. Since making this town my family's home, I jumped right in right away to coach Hingham Little League and Barker Basketball League. The mission of the Hingham Housing Authority is to enhance the town of Hingham's community by creating and sustaining safe, decent, sanitary, and affordable housing environments for people of low income. I look forward to bringing my experience to that mission, including nearly 20 years on the Members Plus board of members plus credit union board of directors, where I chair the Community Reinvestment Committee, which deals with issues of affordability. I'm running because I believe in being active where you live and trying to be involved at the level of government that most directly impacts us. I have a lot to learn, but I'm looking forward to working and serving with and learning from the current Housing Authority board members, Janine Shusheki and Irma Lauder, who I know a lot of you know as well. I'm unopposed, so after Election Day, I'm excited to get to know and work with the professional staff that runs the Housing Authority and maintains those properties in partnership with the Quincy Housing Authority, as well as the Housing Authority tenants and their tenant association. I respectfully ask for your support, and I thank you for the opportunity to be with you this afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Are there questions from the audience for Tim, the Housing Authority? In the back.
That Clay, 12 Winthrop Road. Tim, when you were, did you mention the Quincy Housing Authority?
Yes, it manages the Hingham Housing Authority properties.
I didn't know that, and I was just trying to. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's a partnership with the board and obviously the employees of the Housing Authority locally.
Bonnet Phage, Wampatuck Road. My question is, we spent a lot of time in this town on the accessory zoning and the whole thing, and the state, which was predictable, just came and wiped it all out. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to have, excuse me, I'm not sure if that's going to have, how that's going to affect the Housing Authority with the granny pods, which is basically what they are. And as I understand it, you can do as many granny pods as you want or something like that. So I see many apartment complexes coming, but that's a possibility. But my question is that something that the Housing Authority would deal with, or is that something that the Planning Board would deal with? Because all the stuff that the Planning Board has done in the past regarding the granny pods is now moot.
Yeah, I think.
Thank you.
I don't believe the Hingham Housing Authority Board would be able to intervene in that one way or another. I think it's a zoning and planning, but the state did pass legislation last session to make accessory dwelling units as of right. And I think the impact it may have on the Hingham Housing Authority is just how many, particularly seniors, would be able to avail themselves of an ADU with a family member as opposed to maybe getting on the list and signing up for affordable housing through the Housing Authority.
That's great.
Hey, Joe.
To a tough question, actually, which could have gone circular through this panel. So I appreciate you addressing it. I guess, so my follow-up to that would be, maybe it seems to me like people in the room need to have an idea of what the Housing Authority is doing. And maybe you could just kind of give us an overview. Thanks.
Sure. I look forward to learning what the Hingham Housing Authority is doing, but I do know that there's a new development that is being planned for the Bear Cove area. I believe it's around 60 units. I think it's a focus on senior housing as well. But again, one of the reasons I looked at this position is because nobody had really pulled papers and jumped in to run for this board. And so I know enough to know I want to help and volunteer, but I don't know everything that's there. I've obviously looked at the meeting agendas that they have, and the capital plan and the plan has been discussed and adopted by the current iteration of the board. And so I'd have almost a full year on the board before I'd be voting on those kinds of things and get more awareness. But it's really the, I'll say, Hingham Housing Authority owned properties that, again, are managed in partnership with the Quincy Housing Authority that my understanding is the board oversees in its maintenance and in being responsive to the tenants.
Yeah, just a follow-up for that. Irma Lauder is a member of our the Hingham Republican Town Committee. They are away, unfortunately, and she couldn't join us. But are there other questions in the room?
Myself.
Al.
Yeah, real quick.
I live at Lincoln School Apartments, which is owned by the town. It's an interesting property in that it's the only town property owned that pays taxes to the town. 30% of our current taxpayers in the town of Hingham are over 60 years of age. There is another 20% right behind it in the 50-plus age group. We are looking at close to $250 million in capital improvements over the coming 3 to 4 years. A lot of people are going to get really hurt because of the inability to carry the tax base that we have. And what I want to suggest in the form of a question is one small step you could make as you learn what you can do on this authority is we own a big piece of property at Lincoln School, which is 90% vacant. We should put a wing on the right side of that building. It could take up to 60 apartments. You could have parking underneath it and added a deadly needed elevator space with very little impact to the tax base. The reason being, it's constructed by a professional, the new wing. It is financed through the construction loans, and then it is paid for by a combination of HUD and the rentals on the units. You have a lot of people in Hingham that need that right now. Big end. That's my question.
Question is, I guess, are you aware of this particular opportunity?
Yeah, and I think that it dovetails in with the just question about accessory dwelling unit. We need to have more housing capacity. It's not always perfect, and it's not always a panacea when you have to make local decisions in your backyard or in your neighborhood. But all of those kinds of options to make sure that seniors are able to affordably stay in this town that they've helped build, that they've made so great. It's certainly a priority of mine at every meeting to make sure that we're constantly talking about affordability and making sure people don't feel like they have to leave or they have to go to a granny pod in order to live in this beautiful town.
Okay, that was a good response. I want to thank Tim for joining us today to talk about the Hingham Housing Authority. Okay, I'll now invite John Mooney, who is a candidate for one of the 3 openings on the school committee, to the front. The school committee has 3 openings for 3-year terms, and John is the only school committee candidate who joined us today, but I have statements from the others that I'll read afterward.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm John Mooney. I live at 10 West Street, right near the MBTA commuter rail. So I'm not a boat person. I take the commuter rail every day to my job as a prosecutor in Suffolk DA's office. I'm the chief of the narcotics unit. I took a lot of schooling. It took a lot of people sacrificing for me to get there. I was born in the Bronx. My mother wasn't doing too well. She's in her early 20s. My father's an Irish immigrant, and they broke up, and my mom brought me out to Long Island in New York to go to a better school system. And boy, was that a good choice. I'm a product of the Rocky Point High School, the high school down Long Island I went to. Out of Rocky Point, I got an ROTC scholarship, joined the Army, went to George Washington University, served my country in Germany and Iraq, led soldiers in combat, brought all 69 of them home in 2006. That's right. And basically from then, right after that, I went back to school. I had the crazy idea to become a lawyer. and I must really like education, but it got me that far. And so I went and became a lawyer. Been a lawyer for about 10 years, and I lead the narcotics unit in Suffolk County. Obviously, I have skin in the game. I have a very cute 5-year-old that I want to have every opportunity in the world to succeed and do whatever he wants in life. And based on what my wife and I came to, we said, well, Hingham's a nice town. They have good schools. Let's set down roots there. And that's what we did in 2018, and we've loved it ever since. And I'll do that for all the kids here in Hingham if I'm elected to the school board. And I really thank you for your time.
Okay, John, thank you. Thank you for your service. Are there questions from the audience for John related to the school committee?
Do you want to read those statements first, just in case they prompt some questions for enough?
I think that I could. Yeah, absolutely.
Like fonts and.
Sure. Okay. We actually have one statement. I had a conversation with Matt Cosman, who is a current school committee member, and he is looking forward to serving again. But Allie Anderson, who is running for one of the 3 positions, is also an incumbent. She says, thank you to the Hingham Republican Town Committee for your invitation to attend the candidates forum. My apologies that I can't attend in person. Your time and effort to organize this event is appreciated. It's been both a pleasure and an honor to serve our community as a school committee member. The last 3 years have been both productive and educational, no pun intended. As a committee, we've worked on big endeavors such as funding and building the new Foster School building, transitions between superintendents, negotiating contracts with the Hingham Education Association, as well as overseeing the daily policy and budget management. I've gained so much knowledge during this time, but there's still more to be done. I'm excited to continue working to improve the educational experience for our students and honored to have this opportunity. Please reach out to me with any questions at any point. And that is Hallie's. I was going to continue to read, but it's not her comments. So, very thoughtful response, and maybe lead into some questions here for John. As you know, yeah.
Laura Wells, and I think it was 2 years to the now
Sustainable Budget Task Force. Thank you. The Sustainable Budget Task Force recommended that the schools and the municipal sides each limit the budget growth to 3.5% annually through 2028. You were not a member of the school committee at that time. Would you be in favor of maintaining that commitment? And do you look forward to needing an override in 28, or trying to manage the budget such that we don't need to have an override in 2028?
Well,
see,
I'm going to stick to the 3.5% max.
So the question is related to the MOU between the town and the school system, which runs through 2028, which was a 3.5% annual increase in their budget, which for many years we've been running much leaner than that and having a lot of difficulty managing the school committee budget. So,
well, I'd be new to the committee, and these are new times. $2 billion worth of federal money is being denied to the states, to Massachusetts, by the current administration. New ideas are going to have to come out. I'll have to assess the situation as it sits now, not based on what it was 3 years ago when Massachusetts definitely received $2 billion every year for IDEA, for all the kids that need special IEPs, for all of that's might not be on the table. And where's that money going to come from? Unfortunately, it's scary to say. I don't know where it'll come from. It'll probably have to come from the local towns, because as a school committee member, I'm going to be going out trying to help the kids, and $2 billion is a lot to make up for in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts if we're not receiving it from the federal government. So that's my answer right now. Obviously, I'll work with everyone, but it's a completely different situation we're in right now than we were when that 3.5% was agreed to.
That's a good point. Are there follow-ups to that?
Yep.
Hi, Susan Wetzel, 239 High Street. My question is this, talking about an override in 2028, how do you balance that with the fact that we have had an 18% increase in the last 3 years from the electric light department on our electricity in anticipation of the electrical power line that is currently at 100,400,000, but anyway, over $100 million that is currently being proposed. Obviously the 18% increase that we've had in the last 3 years is not going to pay for that like that. So they're going to be floating, my understanding from the Electric Light Board, is they're going to be floating a bond issue. So my question is, that's going to be hitting pretty soon. It's in front of the siting board here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There have been 2 meetings, of which very sparsely attended in Hingham this past week, and then there was one in Weymouth, which had a much better attendance.
Sue.
So the question is this: if we've got that coming up, okay, and we have a possible override, how on God's earth are we going to afford to live in this town? Please help me. I mean, I live on a fixed income.
Okay. I'm going to, John, I'll take this question. Okay. So we just got to stay on topic. Okay. John is here as a representative of the school committee. Okay.
Just one test.
I think why don't we wait to the end, okay, for unrelated questions. So do we have questions for the school committee? Okay. All right. I want to thank John for coming and being here with us today. And good luck to you on the school committee. All right. Next, I'd like to recognize the following candidates who couldn't be here with us today, each of whom submitted a short statement, which I will read. Town moderator is incumbent Mike Puso. He's running unopposed for a 1-year term. The Recreation Commission, Adrian Ramsey, running unopposed for a 5-year term. And the Sewer Commission, Joe Fisher, running unopposed for a 3-year term after just completing his...
Go back, Mike.
3 or 6 years on the select board. 6 years. 7 years. 6 years.
Well, whatever the super.
So, and you've heard from Ali Anderson, incumbent for the school committee, a 3-year term. So, from Mike Puso, your candidate for moderator. While I cannot be with you today in person, I'm grateful for the Hingham Republican Town Committee for again hosting today's candidates forum. Serving as Hingham's town moderator since 2012 and playing a part in town meeting has been a real privilege. From my perspective, our town's continuing commitment to open town meeting is an essential element of Hingham's very core. Why? Because open town meeting vests in each citizen the right to take part with both voice and vote in charting the town's course. This year will be no different. Voters will be asked to consider 46 questions in a series of articles. These include an operating budget of some $165 million, design funds for a new center for active living, recommendations from the Community Preservation Committee, funds for capital improvements to our school buildings, and a host of land use issues, to name just a few. That we convene as a another part of it is that we convene as a legislative body to decide these issues through the institution that is Hingham Town Meeting is a privilege and not to be taken for granted. Please take part in the meeting and encourage your friends and neighbors to do the same. I think all of us have this feeling, we just have to get more people to town meeting. While less visible than presiding at the meeting, the moderator is also responsible to appoint citizens to the town to various boards and committees. These include all members of the advisory committee and the personnel board, along with members of CPC, the capital outlay committee, the library board, Cleaner Green Hingham, and more. Hingham has been blessed to have so many capable and engaged citizens who are willing to give service to the town. This work is rewarding and critical to maintaining the character and quality of life that we enjoy in town. Please step up to serve. There is something for everyone. Interviews typically take place in May and June, with appointments by the select board and the moderator following, usually in time for the town's new fiscal year, which begins July 1st. In closing, I thank all of you and the HRTC for its work and ask for your vote at the town election on May 3rd, 2025. Thank you, Michael Puso, Hingham Town Moderator. Now, Adrian Ramsey sent us a note for the rec candidate. I'm running for re-election to the Recreation Commission. Since being appointed to the commission in 2015, I've worked with the Recreation Department and my fellow recreation commissioners to enhance recreational programs for Hingham residents of all ages and abilities while preserving affordability. Additionally, I served as the Rec Commission representative on the Master Plan Committee from 2019 to 2021. I have a Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Arts from Boston College. In my professional life, I worked as a Senior Associate Director of Undergraduate Admission at Babson College, and I serve on multiple national and international boards focusing on college admissions. I'm also the past Vice President of the Foster School PTO and have served 2 years as the Chair of the 5th Grade Committee. In 2021, I was appointed to the trustees of the Hingham Bathing Beach. My husband and I have 3 children who attend Foster School and Hingham Middle School, and I kindly ask for your vote. And that's from Adrian Ramsey. So, in conclusion to this afternoon's candidate forum, please join me in thanking the candidates for participation today in their civic presentation. Thanks to the candidates in the audience. Again, I'd like to extend my particular thanks to all the members of the Hingham Republican Town Committee and who support our committee and this event. And again, to the Hingham Public Library and to Harbor Media, which will be airing this forum on the Hingham channel during the weeks leading up to the election. Town meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 28th at 7 at the Hingham High School. Town elections will be held on Saturday, May 3rd. Please do your part and vote. That concludes our program this afternoon, and thank you for joining us today.